From New York, I'm Velshi. This is Your Money. How big should government be and what are you willing to pay for it? There are 15 days left to avert the fiscal cliff, and Republicans are finally offering to increase tax rates on the wealthy. Speaker Boehner proposed an increase on families making $1 million or more. The White House says it's not enough, but it's a step in the right direction. Boehner was back at the White House today to talk about it some more. Now, Republicans might be bending slightly, but they generally oppose more revenue because they feel government already spends too much. So the question is not really about whether millionaires or those making more than $250,000 a year will pay higher rates. The real conversation boils down to the role of government. Fareed Zakaria and I were discussing my contention that we should be less concerned with actual rates and be having more of a discussion about the value that Americans get for their tax dollars.
And here's the problem with that. Americans like government. So what we have for the last 30 years done is say, we're going to have low taxes, but we still want lots of government. And we've made up that difference by borrowing.
Now, speaking about value for your taxes, take a look at this list of countries rated on a 1 to 10 life satisfaction scale. Denmark tops the list at 10, Canada comes in at a 9, the U.S. at 8, France at 7, and Japan a measly 4. Now look at the top tax rates in these countries. Americans pay 41.7% when you factor in federal, state, and local taxes. Danes are happier, but they pay a bit more, 48%. Why? Because in part, their taxes get them free health care and post-secondary education. So perhaps a more constructive conversation should center on how much we expect to benefit from government services and how much we're willing to pay for those services. Now, in the weekend negotiation between Speaker Boehner and President Obama have given us a new term over which to obsess, chained CPI. Now, simply put, it would change the way the federal government calculates inflation and those benefits that are tied to it. Normally, every year, both wages and prices go up. The Consumer Price Index, or CPI, measures how much prices go up by tracking a basket of goods that Americans typically buy. Now, this is important because it's used to calculate cost of living adjustments on Social Security. Checks pay a little more each year as prices for what we need go up. One potential flaw in the system is that CPI assumes people don't change the things in the basket if, for instance, the price of meat goes up. In other words, if you're eating more chicken because the price of beef has shot up, CPI doesn't account for that. Chained CPI creates a chained baskets of goods to measure inflation more accurately. It's measuring how people actually react to price changes, not simply the fact that prices have changed. Now, chained CPI would account for the fact that you are buying more chicken when beef becomes too expensive. Now, that could result in a slower rate of inflation over time, saving the government money on those cost of living adjustments and on raising tax brackets on what people earn. So why is chained CPI suddenly so vital to the fiscal cliff negotiation? Well, it isn't a spending cut or a tax hike, but it will effectively cut spending and raise taxes on some, saving the government an estimated $300 billion over the next decade. From New York, I'm Velshi. I'll talk to you same time tomorrow.